What is up, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube? Today, I don't really got much of an intro, so I'm just going to give you people a question to think about. And if you write in the comment section, let me know what that shit is. So here's my question for you people out there. What is your favorite David O. Russell movie? Let me know what it actually is. And also, would you like to see David O. Russell stop with this Jennifer Lawrence thing? Or would you actually like to make him go back to kind of his roots where, like a Three Kings of sorts? Let me know in the comments. And now for the review in 3, 2, 1. Let's roll it. What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? That's right, I am Chris Smith, and I got a review for you today. Today's review, we're going to be talking about Joy, the new David O. Russell movie starring Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper, Robert De Niro. Maybe you heard of them, maybe you haven't. But, of course, this movie, I was going to talk about it because I actually did want to see this. I was interested. I saw Silver Linings Playbook. I thought it was actually a pretty good job. The Fighter is a fantastic movie, and American Hustle is a little bit of a tonal thing that was off, and some performances is kind of out there, but at the exact same time, it just kind of felt as if American Hustle was a little bit, it tried to be a little bit too clever for its own good, and unfortunately that kind of made the movie suffer. But this is not about any of those movies. Today, we're talking about Joy. So enjoy this review about Joy. That's right, I'm making a joke of the name. Everybody's going to do it, but let's talk about this thing, right? The story is about Joy Mangano. She's a mother of two, divorced, and this is about her lifespan and how she built her empire after creating the Miracle Mop. Now, she's a pretty big inventor. If you didn't know, I had to look her up to see some of the things she's actually done. And then I was like, okay, she has a bit of an interesting life, but what makes this actually need to be told in a movie? Now, granted, while watching this thing, I still think we didn't necessarily need this as a movie, maybe a Lifetime movie. And unfortunately, it's better than Lifetime movies, obviously, but I feel like this also could have been a TV movie on HBO, and I feel like it still would have kind of given that same feeling. But that's not to say this is a bad movie. I actually really enjoyed this movie. But let's talk about some good things, right? Let's talk about Jennifer Lawrence, right? Jennifer Lawrence is sometimes a mixed bag, at least for me. Going into this movie, I thought, okay, maybe she's a little bit too young. You know, maybe she just seems like she's a little bit out of her element here. But then you got to realize every great actress can actually pull off a role, no matter how old, sometimes. Now, she pulls it off completely. Yes, it still seems like she's a little bit too young to be playing a mother too, but she could have had the kids easily earlier, but that's not the point. She pulled it off. She was strong. She was determined. I liked that. You see Joy really going after some of these people that kind of screwed her. You know, she never took no for an answer, and for that, I really enjoyed her performance. You know, she really did, you know, give something to this movie that was sadly kind of lacking from everybody else. Other than maybe a few people, but I feel like she really did bring it out in this movie. I feel like she had a commanding presence. Anytime she was on screen, I really did want to kind of just pay attention to her, you know, and for that, that's a good lead, and she proved it well in here. Now, Bradley Cooper's not really in this movie very much, and unfortunately, that's both a good thing and both a bad thing. It kind of makes his appearance more memorable, right? But at the exact same time, you kind of be like, well, that's a little bit of a false advertising. You know, they put Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, hey, they're back together again, and they are. But for the most part, it's just like for like 2 scenes, maybe 3, and then like a full 2-hour movie. So he's not fully in the movie. But I will say this: the scene where he's like touring with Jennifer Lawrence around like the workplace and whatnot, that's a fantastic scene. You know, I was just like, this seems like a business school thing. I feel like I'm really learning some stuff behind the scenes here. It was very interesting and intriguing, and Bradley Cooper really delivered. It reminded me of kind of like a Gordon Gekko speech, or like anything from, or like Ben Affleck speech from Boiler Room. Yeah. But you get my point. That's what I'm pretty much saying. It was a fantastic speech, and he was pretty much good in there. De Niro, he's good in the movie, but he practically is like playing the same character from Silver Linings Playbook. You know, he's playing a father. If you watch the movie, he's pretty much playing the exact same thing. Just kind of a bit more of an asshole. Virginia Madsen, kind of wasted. Not really done. You got an Oscar nominee here, Virginia Madsen. Do something with her. Unfortunately, she's playing footsie with the plumber in this movie. And that's kind of all she is. And Edgar Ramirez, I actually really enjoyed Edgar Ramirez in this movie. Now, Edgar Ramirez, sadly for him, this is not going to be the best week of his life, because he's going to have a pretty solid performance in Joy, and then he's going to have a pretty shitty performance in 2 days with Point Break. But that's just a prediction. Who knows? It may be Oscar contender Edgar Ramirez for Point Break. You never know. Now, for this movie in particularly, some things that I did not really like was that I felt the music seemed a little bit out of place. Now you're probably thinking, well, what do you mean out of place? Well, what I mean is that I felt as if for this movie, some of the musical choices just did not go with the scenes. Either they weren't synced up very well, with like the montages and whatnot, and it just didn't really work for me. Some of them seemed very out of place, especially kind of towards the end, but that's just what I saw. I felt as if some of them just felt like they were on top of each other instead of meshed in well, like they were unedited. That's just what I saw. The movie kind of kicks off with the grandmother kind of narrating this thing, and to me, narration is a very tricky thing because if you have narration, you have to make it actually mean something. If the person narrating, and I said this with Black Mass, if the person narrating and that person was not there all the time, it doesn't make any sense as to why they're telling the story, and then it kind of puts the story focus on them, especially if they're in the movie. But once you see the narration, it doesn't make any sense because of the end result, and then it really just kind of seems like, why are you sticking with this? I could have dealt without the narration from the grandmother. It just didn't work. The soap opera things really kind of were beating you over the head. I get it if they were trying to make it be like, well, Joy's life's like a soap opera. And I can understand that, but at the exact same time, it really didn't work. Now, for Joy, she has a very interesting family. Most of her family kind of ranges from freeloaders to just annoying to assholes to just completely clueless, except for a few exceptions. Now, she has a good working relationship with her ex-husband, played by Edgar Ramirez. He plays Tommy, and he's really good in the movie, as I said before. And this is probably one of the better roles I've seen in Edgar Ramirez. He's a bit of her advisor. They say in the movie that they're better off as, friends than they were as husband and wife. So, and I kind of saw that, They had good chemistry. As I said, Bradley Cooper's fantastic in this movie for his few scenes that he's in there, but also he's a bit of an asshole. Pretty much almost everybody's unlikable in this movie, especially like her half-sister is like the worst I've seen. She's kind of stupid, not dumb, but she's just stupid in her actions, and she's very annoying and just jealous in some ways. Joy, now played by Jennifer Lawrence, she is, likable, and that's good, because if she was unlikable, then this movie would not work completely. Now, David O. Russell, he does a good job in the writing and the directing department, but unfortunately, I am kind of getting a little bit bored of this combination between Lawrence and now Cooper, and now De Niro seems like he's joining them for the fun. So when you kind of add those in, yes, it adds an excitement, but I feel like he's trying to force feed us, right? Like for Scorsese and De Niro, they kind of waited a bit, and then they kind of brought it back up a couple of years. This guy's like, his next movie, bam, Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper. Next movie, Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper. Be like, yes. Now, where does Joy rack up in this kind of department? I felt like it does kind of fall between, it may be slightly better than American Hustle, but sadly, I think Joy slightly dips down towards the end. I feel like everything was kind of already done, and they just wanted to kind of add in a few more extra scenes. Also, this movie doesn't really do a great job at detailing how much time has passed. Because there was a couple of instances where they was just like fade around, or a window will be closing or whatever, and lights pop up, and then it just doesn't. Then time frame goes by. Even though like towards the end she's like older, and this plot synopsis says it spans 4 generations. And I'm just like, does it? Because if it does, they don't do a good job. Very small hints, like she mentioned 1995, and I was like, great. Finally, I could put a time and date to this thing. But unfortunately, they don't really elaborate on that. Some of the things are but I feel like the performances are good in this movie. But I feel like nobody really had nothing to do much, other than like Bradley Cooper's good scenes, and Jennifer Lawrence really leads the thing. Unfortunately, like I said, her family members are just kind of like there. Edgar Ramirez, I did like. And this is a pretty solid film, and you should see it. If you're a fan of David O. Russell, go see it. Personally, I would like to see David O. Russell kind of do something like a Three Kings again. I like to actually see that. I get it. He likes Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper, and that's great. And that's the combination. Then keep on doing it. It's working the award season. Should this film get nominated per se? To me, not the film. I think Jennifer Lawrence could get nominated. Hell, if you want to throw Bradley Cooper in there, sure, I guess. But that'd just really be stretching it. Other than that, sure, throw Jennifer Lawrence in there. She could get a nomination. Should she win? No. Also, her accent is supposed to be New York, right? It's supposed to be a New York accent. But unfortunately, I felt as if her accent kept like popping in and out, and then it just kind of really didn't work for me. Now, like I said, I enjoyed this movie. I particularly enjoyed her scene where she's when they were doing how she kind of created the mop, right? I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed kind of seeing her go to store, and even though it was sad to see her do it, it was interesting to see how the world kind of worked against her. You know, she was very determined to carry the thing. You know, if people say, well, this movie doesn't really have a villain or whatever, then you got to really look closely. This is a movie based off of life, so therefore the villain is life. Life is a villain. It's like what Balboa said, life will knock you down. The world is not full of sunshine and rainbows. So that they showed that, you know, people will eat you up and they would screw you over. And that's what this movie showed. And I liked that. The scene with her selling the mops in front of Kmart, that's a great scene, trying to con artist people. I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I enjoyed this movie. It's just that, as I said, the soap opera things were a little bit knocking on the head and they didn't really work. And the music choices were a little off. And it does get a little sloppy towards the end. Because once she is older and they kind of make everybody old and gray, they don't really seem old. The makeup department really didn't do that great of a job by making Jennifer Lawrence look old or anybody. It's like they looked slightly older with gray hair, but you're not really sure what year it's supposed to be. And therefore, it just seemed like it's Jennifer Lawrence at like 27 or 23 or whatever. So therefore, it kind of just seems like it's, you know, they didn't really do a good job at detailing it. But yes, I enjoyed this movie. It is a good movie, right? It could have been better, and I think it actually may be one of his worst. Well, not worst, but just his weakest of his recent, I guess, say streak. The Fighter is still his top of the top, but it's up to you to really rank where this is. But I have to put it, then I would probably say Joy is slightly better than American Hustle, if I had to put it. That's just my opinion, but the movie does get a little bit sloppy and kind of feel like they're just dropping leftovers in. Also, shout out to Melissa Rivers. Even though she was a small part, she did a pretty decent job as a mother, and who better to play her than herself, I guess. But yes, that's my review. If I have to give it, I give it a solid 7. It's nothing that special, but see it for Jennifer Lawrence's performance, and if you're a fan of David O. Russell. But yes, I'm Chris Smith. Comment, subscribe, like. I'm signing out.